Bonjour les élèves. Aujourd'hui, on va faire la leçon qui va s'appeler le grammaire, tout ce qu'on a appris. Le grammaire, tout ce qu'on a appris. So, as we are approaching to the end of this unit, we are going to revise the grammar that we have learned in the course of this unit. So, le grammaire, tout ce qu'on a appris, all that we have learned. So, as I told you from the title itself, tout ce qu'on a appris is passé composé, and passé composé can be past or present perfect. So, tout ce qu'on a appris. The first thing that we are going to revise is adverb. So, if you remember, we discussed un adverbe, qu'est-ce que c'est? Un adverbe, qu'est-ce que c'est? Les adverbes sont invariables, c'est-à-dire ils n'ont pas de genre ou de nombre. So, adverbs are invariable or they do not change as per the gender or the number. Like we have seen many things like participe passé or l'adjective, adjective, they change as per the masculine or the feminine gender or the number singular or plural. So, les adverbes sont invariables, c'est-à-dire ils n'ont pas de genre masculin, féminin ou de nombre singulier, pluriel. Mais une forme unique, but it has an unique form. Like, il y a beaucoup de garçons, il y a beaucoup de filles. So, beaucoup de is remaining same both for boys and girls. Il y a beaucoup de garçons, il y a beaucoup de filles. On utilise les adverbes à nuancer, à donner des informations supplémentaires sur un verbe, adjectif, nom, un autre adverbe ou sur le sens d'une phrase. As we have discussed in the previous lesson on adverb, if you remember, adverb kind of gives more precision, supplementary information and nuance to a verb, adjective, noun or other adverbs. And it can be also generally changing the same thing about the entire sentence. Like, Julien parle beaucoup. Julien parle beaucoup. Sébastien est très beau. Il y a trop de sel. Marine vient très souvent à la maison. So, in these cases, we see that they are giving like Julien parle beaucoup. Julien parle means Julien talks. Julien parle beaucoup means Julien talks too much. Sébastien est très beau. Sébastien is handsome. Sébastien is very handsome. So, très beau. Il y a trop de sel. There is too much of salt. Marine vient très souvent à la maison. Marine comes to the house very frequently. So, very frequently becomes souvent, à la maison. Then we have also learned in the previous lesson on adverb, assez de, pas assez de, enough or not enough. But as I told you, assez always is followed by de generally. There are a few exceptions, but really a few. But normally, l'adverbe assez de se réfère à une quantité suffisante et pas assez de à une quantité insuffisante. So, sufficient and insufficient quantity is actually indicated by assez de. Il généralement accompagne d'un nom ou d'un adjectif, mais il peut aussi suivre un verbe. So, it is normally accompanied by a noun or adjective, or it can be also followed by a verb. And then we have also learned peu de means little. Peu de exprime faible quantité, la rareté d'un élément. So, it can be weak quantity, little quantity or the rarity of an element. En général, il est suivi d'un nom ou il est placé après un verbe. So, peu de can be used, can be followed by a noun or it can be also placed after a verb. like il y a peu de chance pour qu'il accepte. So, there is very little chance that he would accept it. Gaël dort peu means Gaël sleeps very little. Adverbial pronouns. We have also learnt the adverbial pronouns. Adverbial pronouns are the pronouns in the sense they replace nouns. At the same time, they are adverbs representing a place, quantity or object of a preposition. So, French has two adverbial pronouns, on and e, en on and y. So, if you remember, we discussed it thoroughly in one of the previous lessons that y replaces the indirect object of the verb when it is followed by a noun, that is a location. For example, look at the following phrase, vous allez à la bibliothèque. Are you going to the library? Vous allez à la bibliothèque? You can simply reply, oui, je vais à la bibliothèque. But in our everyday conversation, normally we use these adverbial pronouns and we say, oui, j'y vais. Yes, I am going there. And the other adverbial pronoun was on. On replaces the structure de plus non. De plus non. You could also think about this pronoun when you encounter a noun after a partitive article, a quantity word or a number, on. So, the pronoun on, the pronoun on or adverbial pronoun on, in the same way that y replaces the constructions with a to give the meaning of there, on replaces ones that use de means of to give the meaning of some or any. So, just let us go by these examples. De plus definite article plus non, like you have to understand tu as du café, tu as du café. So, de it becomes article partitive or partitive article is du. So, tu as du café. So, the reply is oui, je n'ai or non, je n'en ai pas. So, here du café, a thing that is going to be replaced by on, or furthermore on can replace de and a noun that has indefinite article like une or un, like il a besoin d'une tasse. Non, il n'en a pas besoin. Non, so il a besoin d'une tasse, he needs a cup. Non, il n'en a pas. So there is a liaison, il n'en a pas besoin. No, il n'en a pas besoin. No, he doesn't need one. So, after that, if you remember, we did a very important grammar course on past tense. And past tense, as I have explained you before, during talking about le passé composé, the passé composé has a wide, passé composé is a past tense, but in French, we have multiple form of past tenses. So, like past tenses like you have simple past, you have passé composé, you have imparfait, you have plusquamparfait. But the first simple form of past tense that we are going to learn is le passé composé. Le passé composé is the most important past tense in French. It corresponds to the simple past of English language. It may also relate to the present perfect. We form the passé composé using auxiliary verb avoir or être followed by the past participle, le participe passé of the verb. So, as we have talked about it right in the beginning of this lesson, when we said tous qu'on a appris, on a appris, here it is not simple past of English language, it is the present perfect, all that we have learned. So, now I am going to discuss the passé composé quickly once again for your revision, and remember that passé composé is most important past tense in French because we use it in our everyday language. So, What is an auxiliary verb? Because you know, when we constitute or when we construct or form passé composé, we have to use an auxiliary verb. An auxiliary verb helps another verb to form a tense. It is like he has been gone forever. So, has is the auxiliary verb and been is auxiliary here and gone is the main verb. So, he has been gone forever. In this English example, we have two auxiliary verbs. So, similarly, an auxiliary verb kind of indicates, kind of places the action of the verb in the past or future. So, that is what we call tense. So, in English there are three auxiliary verbs: to have, to be, to do, and some auxiliary words like would, may, must, can, could. In French, this is much simpler. In French, there are only two auxiliary verbs, avoir and être, and there are no auxiliary words. There are no auxiliary words. So, you have to be very careful about it. So, like when we do a passé composé, as we discussed before, we generally do it with avoir. Je parle means I speak, j'ai parlé means I spoke or I have spoken. So, j'ai parlé, tu as parlé, il a parlé, elle a parlé, nous avons parlé, vous avez parlé, ils ont parlé, elles ont parlé. So, here we have an entire conjugation of passé composé when the auxiliary verb is avoir. So, most of the regular verbs like manger, parler, all these things are conjugated with avoir. Participer means to participate, j'ai participé, tu as participé, il a participé, elle a participé, nous avons participé, vous avez participé, ils ont participé, elles ont participé. So, you understand that passé composé is actually very easy, but there is a but in the story. That is, you have to know what is the past participle or le participe passé of the verb that you are going to use. Like for verbs ending with er, it is very simple. Aimer becomes aimer, and if the verb ends with ir, it is also very easy. Finir becomes fini, but if it also kind of, there are certain verbs that are ending with re, the participe passé becomes like vendre becomes vendu, but these are the regular verbs, but there are also irregular verbs. So, like I will give you a list of irregular verbs like venir becomes venu, tenir becomes tenu, devoir becomes dû, pouvoir becomes pu, vouloir becomes voulu, lire becomes lu, boire becomes bu, attendre becomes attendu, entendre becomes entendu, courir becomes couru, répondre becomes répondu, faire becomes fait, dire becomes dit, écrire becomes écrit, conduire becomes conduit, and apprendre means to learn, apprendre becomes appris, and that is the title of this lesson, Tous, qu'on a appris. So, further going into the details, let's check out like some basic forms of passé composé just for your understanding. Regarder, regarder ends with er, it's a regular verb. So, it's very easy to form the participe passé. Instead of er, you put e accent aigu, that is j'ai regardé, tu as regardé, il a regardé, elle a regardé, nous avons regardé, vous avez regardé, ils ont regardé, elles ont regardé. And now we are going to give you the list of verbs that has être as the auxiliary verb to form the passé composé. So, just a quick recap, passé composé, the most used past tense in French, can be done with an auxiliary verb. An auxiliary verb can be avoir or être. for avoir, we have seen most of the verbs they are with avoir, but there are some verbs which are in passé composé used, I mean être is used as the auxiliary verb, and there are 15 verbs mainly aller, venir, retourner, entrer, sortir, monter, descendre, arriver, partir, rester, passer, tomber, apparaître, naître, mourir. Aller means to go, and venir means to come, retourner means to return, entrer is to enter, sortir is to exit, monter is to climb up, descendre is to climb down, arriver is to arrive, partir is to leave, rester means to stay, passer means to pass, tomber means to fall, apparaître means to appear, naître means to be born, and mourir is to die. So, apart from these, also les verbes pronominaux or the reflexive verbs like se lever, se laver, se réveiller, all these verbs are also conjugated with être. So, if we give some examples like venir, partir, je suis venu, tu es venu, il est venu, elle est venue, nous sommes venus, vous êtes venus, ils sont venus, elles sont venues. Similarly, if it's a pronominal verb, le verbe pronominal or reflexive verb as we say in English, it is also done with être. Je me lave becomes je me suis lavé, tu te laves becomes tu t'es lavé, il se lave becomes il s'est lavé, nous lavons becomes nous sommes lavés, vous lavez becomes vous êtes lavé, il se lave becomes ils se sont lavés, elles se lavent becomes elles se sont lavées. So, passé composé, the 15 verbs that we talked about, you have to understand in this case, like for avoir, the past participle remains as it is in passé composé, but the auxiliary verb when you are using être, the past participle agrees to the number and the gender of the subject. Elle est venue, venir is to come. So, elle est venue du Japon. You see, in venue we have added an extra E because it is elle. Ils sont arrivés au restaurant. I have put E arrivé. You can see an extra S, and that refers to il, which is plural, third person plural number. So, they arrived to the restaurant. Similarly, monter, je suis monté sur le mur, I climbed up the wall, but looking at the participe passé, you know that monter is ending with an E. That means the person who is speaking, je suis monté sur le mur, that person is a female. Entrer, and in entrer, il est entré dans la maison, and these are the just like in third person singular number, there is no change, it is the past participle as it is because it is already agreeing to the number and gender. So, rester, tu es resté dans ta chambre, you stayed in your room, sortir means to exit, on est sorti de l'hôtel, we have left the hotel. So, here again we are conforming to the number and the gender of on. So, descendre, nous sommes descendus de l'arbre. We climbed down from the tree, but descendu with an S at the end. Vous êtes tombé de cheval. But here, as you see, after tomber, the verb is T-O-M-B-O-R. It's a regular verb. So, the past participle is T-O-M-B-E accent aigu. But since vous êtes tombé de cheval, vous refers to female and plural number, it becomes vous êtes tombé avec an E and S at the end. So, it's T-O-M-B-O accent aigu E-S de cheval. So, this is just a recapitulation of what we have already done. Be very careful when you are replying to the writing in French, because often when you talk in French, the participe passé, even if there is some agreement of gender and number, it doesn't show, because we don't say, like for example, nous sommes descendus. We don't say that. We don't use it. We say descendu. So the participe passé sounds the same while speaking, but while writing you have to be very careful. So then rester dans or à, tu es resté dans ta chambre. Tu es resté dans ta chambre. Sortir, to exit, on est sorti de l'hôtel, which we have already done. And now I would request you that after the revision of this course, this particular lesson today, the adverbs, pronominal adverbs and passé composé, you have to practice. What you can do is something very simple. You write down all the verbs you know, step 1. Step 2, you try to find out the participe passé. Like for the general verbs, it's very easy. For the regular verbs, like if it is ending with er, you remove er and you just put e accent aigu to form the participe passé. But the problem will occur for the 15 verbs that we have done, like, or the irregular verbs also. If you remember, we made some a list of that. Venir is venu, tenir is tenu, devoir is dû, pouvoir is pu, vouloir is voulu, lire is lu, boire is bu, attendre is attendu, entendre is entendu, courir is couru, répondre is répondu. So if you want to say, I held the umbrella, j'ai tenu la parapluie. So here you have to remember the past participle, because it doesn't go by the rule. Or for example, I read this novel. J'ai lu. Lire becomes lu. J'ai lu ce roman. Attendre becomes attendu. Je t'ai attendu pendant 1 heure. I waited for you for an hour. Je t'ai entendu pour 1 heure. So, with these things, you have to constantly practice the participe passé. So, further some verbs like faire, fait, I did it, j'ai fait, ça. So, faire becomes fait, dire becomes dit, écrire becomes écrit. J'ai écrit une lettre à Isabelle. I have written a letter, or I wrote a letter to Isabelle. Écrit becomes écrit. So, these are the past participle or participe passé that you have to make a list of, and after making a list of them, you try to write the entire conjugation several times and practice it in such a way that it naturally comes to you with the passé composé. And remember, in passé composé, I repeat for the last time that in passé composé, we have most of the verbs, the auxiliary verb that we use to form passé composé is avoir, except those 15 verbs, aller, venir, partir, descendre, monter, that list we talked of today, and the reflexive verbs like je me suis lavé, I washed myself. So, remember these 2 things and practice it before you get it organically in you. I would request you to write down the conjugation of the present tense and the passé composé several times. And bon courage, bonne continuation, à la prochaine et au revoir.